So hey guys, this is the first video on channel. So today what we would be discussing is the difference between the compiled versus the interpreted languages. So many of the people ask these questions in the interview also, and many of the people are not still clear about these topics. So here we are totally explaining the difference between these and what are different languages that are interpreted and or compiled and how they actually work. So you would get the back end of it or working of it so that you might be good at that language. Yeah, so first we would be going towards the interpreted languages, which are the modern languages that you see in using the web browser or like modern languages, which first is an example of Python, and another one we have is very famous one called JavaScript, which is used in the web browser. So what these interpreted languages are, what they do is they run the code in the machines line by line. So if I write in the first line, I write console.log hello world, and if I write here hello world simply and then close it. So if I run this in my IDE, so what it would be doing is running this line of code, ignoring all the other lines of code. So this would be like first line of code, and my software would run the first line of code ignoring all that lines. So when it runs the first line, then only next line would be executed. So this is the logic of interpreted languages. So for example, if we have when it runs these command, this would print hello world in our console, and when we go towards the next lines, if we have error in the next line, so it would not affect our first line because it would run our first line. If we have the error in the second line, it would stop the program. And for example, we have let's suppose uh, error in the second line. So let me write it first. Here we have the text. I'll just say error for now. You can say our code is not would be not properly working in the second line. And here we have the third one, which is also print third line here. And yeah, so the interpreted languages, what they do is basically they would run the first console.log in my console, and then after it runs the second line, which is basically an error in our program, which is the second line, it would not continue the program. So yeah, this is what interpreted languages do. Whereas if we look at compiled languages, so let's suppose we take the example of C++, and we take Rust, we take Java. Java is a These are all high level languages which are all compiled languages. So what they do is first they would, so in order to run the code in Java or C++, what they do is, as they are compiled languages, it would first do all the compilation of all the code without looking at each of the line. It would see all the code. For example, if we have, for example, the same code here, so this is not the way we write in Java or C++. I'm just for example taking it as an example. So we have multiple lines of code here also. So what it would do, scan all the code, and it would compile it, convert it to machine code, and then it would give us the output. So while doing the compilation function, which is it would see all the lines of code without seeing the line by line code, which it does in interpreted languages, whereas in compiled it would scan first all the lines of code. Any if we have error in any of the line of code, it would not run that and show us the error. So yeah, this is the main difference between compiled and interpreted languages. So giving out the summary from all the what we have learned today. So compiled languages only have two options. It would fully run or not run, simply true or false. And in case of interpreted languages, it would partially run if the line does not have a error. It would, that is also the meaning of interpreted also, like line by line only. So it would partially run that code and then stop if it sees the error, whereas it would not even run if it have a small error. So that is the main difference. So this is all about the video. We'll see you in the next lecture.